Have you ever wondered why someone you cared about left your life and what lesson that relationship was meant to teach you? I've wondered that myself. Back in 2007, I went to New York City to visit my best friend, Emily. And shortly before that happened, my little sister had passed away. And when we were watching Broadway musical Wicked, and this was my first time ever seeing it, right on Broadway, during the second half when For Good was sung, it just really touched my heart and brought up a lot of emotions for me. I think it was at that moment that I knew there was a reason why each person comes into our life, and it gave me a chance to reflect and ponder on the experiences I'd had with my little sister before she passed. Fast forward to 2025, we recently went to the Broadway play again, and it came to my awareness that my best friend Emily, who I'd been visiting, is now also passed away, and she was like a sister to me as well. It's hard to lose those we love, whether it be death or divorce or end of friendships. It can be really tough and it can be challenging, and sometimes we don't really know why relationships are as long as they are.
I know one thing. I was single, as you know, in my middle years for about 8 years. And I had a number of relationships. Some of them were more serious than others. But I know as I look back, I think there were some people that were meant to come into my life, teach me certain things, help me through a certain period of time. They may have had their role to play, but then they were also meant to exit. There were others, like you, that were meant to come into my life and stay forever. And I think in the beginning, it is almost impossible to tell who is who. And yet I appreciate those that were meant to come into my life and change my life for good, as the song goes, even though they weren't meant to stay and be my forever person. And I still look back on those relationships with gratitude for the things I learned, for the things those people got me through. And I was thinking about that the other day when I posted one of those people's friendiversary with me on Facebook and said, I'm glad we became friends, and we'd been friends for 8-9 years or something like that. She's friends with Cathy too, but we're blessed to have people come into our lives, and not everyone we feel really good about in the beginning is meant to be permanent.
All relationships are divinely orchestrated to teach us. Glinda doesn't know if she believes it, as the song goes, but we do believe it. Now we're going to talk about forced relationships, or even like one-sided relationships. And we're going to start with Elphaba and Fiyero. Elphaba and Fiyero have this unrequited love in the first half where she really wants him, but she doesn't think she has a chance with him. And then we move to Glinda and Fiyero, and they just make sense because they're of the same social class. So, in some ways that just kind of becomes a thing because it's what makes sense, but it isn't necessarily the best match. And then there's Nessa and Bok, who through coercion, Nessa entraps Bok into being with her. And the question is,
do we settle because we're afraid we won't ever get a better chance? It's occurred to me more than once that sometimes we get really excited about a particular person that we may have met, and we, even if the relationship kind of goes south, we'll push it. We'll try to keep it going because of this very thing that we're afraid we might not ever get another opportunity, or we're just so excited about this particular person that we're going to think of whatever reasons we can. And I know I've had relationships like that where, I wanted it so much the other person just sort of went ahead and signed up for it. But I remember a therapist telling me one time that a particular person that I was very much crazy about was the kind of person who would take the path of least resistance. So she might be in a relationship because I wanted it, but it wasn't really what she wanted. Is that what you want to sign up for? Somebody that's half convinced? Because the old saying about one convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. It's kind of true in relationships too. Do you want that to happen? Or do you want somebody who really chooses you? And I think it's the latter.
Right. And whether it's unrequited love or just the social status or some kind of a coercion involved, none of that is both people choosing in wholeheartedly.
Right.
What if letting go of jealousy could set you free? Now let's talk about opting out of jealousy. Jeff, I don't know what you think, but I thought Glinda was uncharacteristically mature when Fiera ended up choosing Elphaba. I think she was sad, but happy for her friend.
Well, and we've been in the middle of that kind of love triangle too. I mean, one of Cathy's prior dating partners ended up married to her best friend.
And he was actually with us when we went to Wicked after she passed.
So if we had strictly adhered to the girl code, the guy code, you've heard those terms used, that relationship couldn't have happened because the friend would have needed to remain loyal to her, to her girlfriend by not dating any of her formers, and yet she would have missed out on the guy she married. So,
well, and I think he could have lost out if he'd gotten bitter, but instead he chose to be happy for us and in turn become friends with all of us, including Emily. And of course, we encouraged them. And ultimately, they did get together, and it was so beautiful and so wonderful. We actually did an interview with them and about their love story here on LilyTube, so you can check that out. It's called Love at Last with Dan and Emily.
Let me say one more thing about jealousy too. When I was a young man and I was dating and into my first marriage, just the thought of my girlfriend and then later wife, having any attraction to another man just drove me out of my mind, Of course, I had to get over that when I was dating people that had been married before in my middle years. But there's more to it even than that, because I think when you're constantly a little bit worried and jealous and thinking maybe I'm not quite enough for this person to stay in love with me, that can become a very difficult and almost captive kind of situation. And at the end of the day, I think you have to tell yourself, or it is healthier for you to tell yourself, I'm going to trust this person I've chosen who has chosen me. And I'm going to trust them because you know what? If they wanted to cheat on me or to be with somebody else, they could. There wouldn't be anything to stop them, no matter how much control you try to keep over them. It would drive you a little bananas. At the end of the day, it's much more liberating to say, I just trust you to be who you are. Now, what if you feel on the inside like, what if, and it's a hard thing to shake? We say sometimes trust is a policy. You just trust because what choice do you have? You let go of the things that worry you and bother you and the paranoia, and you just choose to trust.
Letting go of jealousy. And I think what you're saying is part of that is trusting our partner and believing they have our backs and that they have our best interest in mind unless they give us reason to think otherwise, and still let go of any kind of jealousy because that is part of what facilitates that.
Yeah, and if at first you can't feel that in your heart, adopt it as a policy. Sooner or later, I believe, if this person is trustworthy, you're going to settle into it and realize that they are.
Getting rid of the idea that we need to feel bad when someone else is chosen, it's something that we can do intentionally. Believe that your best match is out there because you can maintain hope while feeling good about other people experiencing joy in their love lives. And I think that's the happy way to be. It's the joyful way to be.
Part of that is what we talked about before, that you wouldn't want to be with somebody who wasn't really sold on you. And so if they find love with somebody else, be happy for them, let them move on. Look forward to the time when it's your turn to be the one chosen, and you will have that moment. And I think that's a big part of this, is you just recognize that people have their choices. If they choose someone else, that's not a reason to be jealous or angry or frustrated.
Have you ever thought marriage would just fix everything, only to find out that it did not? Now we're going to talk about when life does not go as we planned.
Wicked, the wizard was supposed to fix everything for Elphaba, right? She had all this hope when she went to the Emerald City, and instead, the wizard kind of became her undoing. And many of us are counting on marriage. Well, I know that I'm deficient in this way or that way, but I'm going to marry somebody who's very strong and where I'm weak. Many of us count on marriage to fix other things, like I'm lonely, but when I'm married, I won't be, because that other person will be there for me whenever I might feel that way. Many of us have counted on marriage to fix everything, but many of us have ended up divorced instead.
And when life doesn't go as planned, we have the power to make the absolute best of the situation, as demonstrated by Elphaba when she runs away with the scarecrow. Totally not what she would have envisioned, but that was making the best of their hard situation.
Keeping our hearts and minds open to possibilities can allow us to capitalize on opportunities.
Even if they look different than we anticipated. Failed plans can lead to opportunities for unexpected growth, just as we've experienced ourselves and with those we coach in our divorce recovery coaching programs. So if anybody out there is currently recovering from a divorce and healing from all of those hopes that you'd placed on a marriage that didn't last, contact us. We'd be happy to give you a free consult. Just go to Love in Later Years to schedule that with us.
Cathy, do you remember the first time you met my former wife?
I do.
Some of you have heard other videos where I've mentioned that me and my first wife had a pursuer-distancer polarity. I was the pursuer, she was the distancer. That can go either way in some relationships, but that's the way it was for us. But the first time that Cathy met my former wife, it just sort of came up in conversation that we had both been used to being on our own so much. I knew how to do my own laundry. I didn't need a lot of help preparing meals and stuff like that, and that we both liked a certain amount of space. Now, that may have come as a surprise to my first wife, who felt smothered by my desire for her attention. But I think the truth is, over 8 years being single, I changed. I learned to be more self-sufficient, to not necessarily need her to be around all the time. While I see Cathy as being someone who can augment my happiness, I don't need her to create it for me. And part of that is just growing up and learning from the road that we go down sometimes when we're single people and we move through certain relationships.
So I think what you're referring to is the ways in which we can learn and grow from the change of divorce that we didn't expect to happen. And then really a future relationship ends up being different as a result.
And I say, even if it's messy, trust the process. God knows what He's doing with you. He's giving you the experiences and the people in your life that you need to grow and mature, as He gave me.
Who has changed your life for good, even if they're gone from your life now? Now let's talk about people who come into our lives for a reason.
Yeah, we may go in different directions like we talked about, but it seems like if we dig deep, there's always a reason for the time we knew each other, the time we spent together, whether it was in grade school, college, a mission,
work colleagues. There are so many times and seasons in which we come into contact with all sorts of different people. And sometimes they might come back in at some point and sometimes they never do. We believe that all relationships, whether they be small or large, are divinely orchestrated by a loving Father in heaven who knows what we need. One of the most significant decisions we will ever make is how long to keep people in our lives and in what capacity. We tend to resemble the 5 people we are closest to, so that decision essentially becomes part of who we are. While I was pondering the play after watching it earlier this year, the second half reminded me of the famous hymn, "Each Life That Touches Ours for Good." I find it fitting that the second Wicked movie is titled For Good. It lines up with my sentiments and what we have discussed about the second half of the play since.
Will the second movie live up to the second half of the Broadway play? How about you tell us in the comments?
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more elevating content each week. And if you love Wicked, be sure to check out our reaction video to the first movie.
And remember, anytime
is a great time for more love in your life. This video is sponsored by New Calm, an app that will support you in living your best life. Feeling stressed? No matter what your day throws at you, in just a few minutes you can feel recharged, centered, and ready to go. Try it for yourself and feel the difference. Click on the link in our video description. Thanks for joining us for another week on LilyTube. If you enjoy what you see, support us by liking, commenting, and sharing your favorite videos with others who could benefit.
As single life and relationship coaches, our mission is to help single adults intentionally heal from loss to create a happy life and healthy relationships. Keep coming back and we'll keep you encouraged. Each week, we provide new and refreshing perspectives on the challenges and opportunities of mid-single life.
If you'd like to immerse yourself deeper into your own personal development and relationship journey, visit our website at loveinlateryears.com for even more resources. Don't take on divorce recovery and other relationship loss and single life alone. We are here for you.